Good day, everyone. Our lesson for today is about varieties and registers of spoken and written language. So expect to learn about the different types of languages and the registers of spoken and written language. So for our learning objectives, at the end of this lesson, the students are expected to explain the varieties of languages in a particular social settings. Identify the varieties of spoken and written language. Enumerate the 8 domains of language varieties. And lastly, identify the language registers and language styles. So basically, in this lesson, it is more on the different languages and how do we use these languages depending on the social settings that we are in. So let's define first what is language. So language is the method of human communication, either spoken or written, consisting of the use of words in a structured and conventional way. Languages are the primary means of communication of humans, and it can be conveyed through speech, sign, or writing. So dito, sinasabi na lahat ng gusto nating iparating is a means of communication. For example, kapag meron tayong gustong sabihin sa isang tao at nasa isip lang natin yung idea na yun, hindi tayo maiintindihan ng taong kausap natin. Kasi nga, nasa isip lang natin yung idea. Hindi kasi natin siya in-express through writing or speaking. Kaya hindi tayo magkakaintindihan. Kasi nasa isip lang natin yung idea, kinumpus lang natin siya sa isip natin and hindi natin siya in-express. So, hindi natin yun matatawag na language. So, it simply means for us to be able to communicate with others, we need to turn our thoughts into language. Kailangan isulat natin or sabihin natin mismo dun sa tao yung nararamdaman natin para maintindihan nyo yung isa't isa. So, isipin nyo na lang guys ha, pag walang language, paano natin maintindihan yung sinasabi ng mga tao sa atin? Moving on, we have the spoken language. It is a language produced by articulate sounds as opposed to a written language. Siyempre, kapag sinabi nating spoken language, nagsasalita tayo dito. So, ginagamit natin yung bibig natin to express our ideas, thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Pero, hindi naman pwede yung mga words or sounds na wala namang meaning. Kasi, hindi naman tayo maiintindihan ng kausap natin kapag wala namang meaning yung mga pinuproduce nating sounds. Next is the written language. It is the representation of a spoken or gestural language by means of a writing system. So dito naman sa may written language, syempre ginagamitan siya ng pagsulat. For example, nung mga old days or nung panahong wala pang cellphone, ito yung ginagamit nila para makipag-communicate sa mga mahal nila sa buhay, sa mga nasa malalayong lugar.
Language varieties. So, what is language variety? In socio-linguistics, language variety, also called as LEC, is a general term for any distinctive form of a language or linguistic expression. We have jargon, dialect, idiolect, and register. So, what is jargon? Jargon are special words or expressions that are used by a particular profession or group and are different for others to understand. Dialect, a variety that differs in vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation based on a region or social group. Idiolect, the unique speech patterns of an individual. Register, a variety used for a specific social context or purposes like legal or scientific language. Standard variety or standard language or karaniwang lengguwahe sa Filipino. A language variety used by a population for public purposes or as a variety that has undergone standardization. Ito ay ang lengguwahe na ginagamit ng isang bansa or a particular area. For example, sa Philippine media, sa mga balita sa TV, ang ginagamit na wika ay ang Tagalog or Filipino. Examples: English, French, Portuguese, German, Korean, Serbo-Croatian, Spanish, Swedish, Armenian, and Chinese. Jargons refers to the specialized language of a professional or occupational group. Such language is often meaningless to outsiders. Hindi ito maunawaan or maintindihan ng isang tao unless siya po ay familiar or bahagi ng grupo na iyon. Examples: medical jargons, technical jargons, programming jargons, and legal jargons. Pidgin. It is a new language which develops in situations where speakers of different languages need to communicate but do not share a common language. Magkakaroon ng pidgin kapag may dalawang taong nag-uusap na may magkaibang wika. For example, isang Filipino person and Korean person ang mag-uusap. They will use English as their language, but hindi perfect ang structure ng kanilang pananalita sa wikang English. Umaasa lang sila sa mga makeshift na salita or pansamantalang vocabulary na pwedeng maintindihan ng isa. You need at least 3 languages to create a pidgin arises for a need of lingua franca, result of globalization. Creole. It is a pidgin that becomes the first language of the children and the mother tongue of a community. Examples are: in English-based Creole, we have Jamaican Creole. In French-based Creole, Haitian Creole. In Spanish-based Creole, we have Chavacano. Explain ko lang po itong Chavacano. Ang Chavacano ay isang wikang sinasalita sa Pilipinas, lalo na ang mga taga Zamboanga at ilang bahagi ng Cavite, Davao, Maynila at Basilan. Ito ay halong Kastila at wikang Bisaya. Ang salitang Chavacano ay nangangahulugan mismo ng mababang panlasa o bulgar sa wikang Spanish. Ang Creole, ito ay ang pagkakahalo ng wika o salita ng isang individual mula sa magkaibang lugar o bansa. Indigenized varieties are spoken mainly as second languages in ex-colonies with multilingual populations. The differences from a standard variety may be linked to English proficiency or may be part of a range of varieties used to express identity. For examples, Singlish or Singapore English, Taglish or the combination of Tagalog English.
Dialect. The word dialect, which contains lek within the term, derives from the Greek words dia, meaning a cross between, and legend speak. A dialect is a regional or social variety of language distinguished by pronunciation, grammar, and vocabulary. Regional dialect, a variety of language that is spoken in a geographical area for many hundred years as seen in differences in pronunciation, in the traces and form of the word and syntax. These are the examples in USA. Regional dialects include Appalachian, New Jersey, Southern English, in Britain, Cockney, Liverpool English. And the next one is socialect or social dialect, a variety of language used by socioeconomic class, a profession, an age group, or any other social group. These are the factors to determine social position: occupation, place of residence, education, syempre mahalaga yan, income, racial origin, cultural background, caste. And that's the 7 factors to determine social position. These are the examples of socialect or social dialect. European American speakers in Charleston, South Carolina. associated with aristocratic or high-status group. McDavid, 1948. In New York, associated with working-class, low-status group. Leibov, 1966. In other words, it's not really the meaning of what you say that counts socially, but who you are when you say it. By Walt Wolfram. The next one is minority dialect. Is a variety used as maker of identity, usually alongside a standard variety by the members of a particular minority ethnic group. Example, Ebonics. Another example here in the Philippines is Cebuana or Ilocano. They known because of their hard work and resilience.
Idiolect, the language or languages spoken by each individual. For example, if you are multilingual and can speak in different registers and styles, your idiolect comprises of several languages, each with multiple registers and style. It is unique way an individual uses language, like your own personal way of speaking, how you choose words, how you pronounce it. For example, another example is Filipino idiolect. The word Taglish, Tagalog at English. Example is, can you make hatid me to the mall later? When we pronounce it in English, can you give me a ride to the mall later? Diba? Another example is regional dialects. Sa Philippines, marami tayong mga dialects. Cebuano, Ilocano, Iloco, Batanggenyo. Each may unique vocabulary pronunciation. Example na dito is yung Batanggenyo. Kamusta ka naga? When we say it in English, wow, how are you? Like that. Language registers. What is a register? According to Nordquist 2018, register is defined as the way a speaker uses language differently in different circumstances, determined by factors as social occasion, context, purpose, and audience. Determine the vocabulary, structure, and some grammar in one's writing, even in one's oral disclosure. Sabi dito is differently. Different ways we speak or write, and nakadepende yung the way we talk to people sa sitwasyon. For example, the way we talk to our teachers versus the way we talk to our friends. Like, you can see the difference already. The way we talk to our teachers is yung malumanay, with respect, and parang formal. But when we are talking to our friends, like yung casual lang.
The 5 distinct registers according to Nerdquist 2018. These are frozen, formal, consultative, casual, and intimate. Frozen. It refers to historic language or communication that is intended to remain unchanged. Examples are the Holy Bible, the United States Constitution, Romeo and Juliet, poetry, preamble, laws, and lastly, Pledge of Allegiance. This register is unchanging and highly formal. Think of religious texts, legal documents, or historical pronouncements. Ito ay mga inaisulat na noon at patuloy pa ring nababasa o nagagamit sa kasalukuyan nang hindi nagbabago. Dito na ipapakita na kahit sa panahon ngayon, ang mga likha o mga o mga naisulat ay nananatiling ganun pa din kahit ito ay naisulat na ng mahabang panahon. The next one is formal. It is used in professional, academic, or legal settings where communication is expected to be respectful, uninterrupted, and restrained. Slang is never used, constructions are rare. Examples are academic paper, business presentations, interviews, essays in school, work, and business, and TED talk. This register is characterized by a formal tone, complex sentence structure, and specialized vocabulary, used in academic writing, formal speeches, and professional settings. Consultative. It is used in conversation when they are speaking with someone who has specialized knowledge or who is offering advice. Tone is often respectful, but be more casual if the relationship is long-standing or friendly. This register is used in situations where there is an expert-client relationship. Think of a doctor explaining a diagnosis to a patient or a teacher guiding a student. Examples are local TV news broadcast, annual physical examination, strangers who interact, adults at work, teaching with students, and lastly, talking with a lawyer or a doctor. Dito nangyayari ang mga pagpapayo, gumagamit din tayo ng mga malulumanay na salita at mga paggalang tulad ng po at opo na nagbibigay sa kausap natin ng respeto. Casual. It is used when you are with friends, close acquaintances, co-workers, and family. This register is characterized by informal language, slang, and simple sentence structure, used in everyday conversations with your friends and family. Examples are slang, a birthday party, personal letter to a friend, and backyard barbecue. Ito naman ay nangyayari sa mga malalapit na mga kakilala, kaibigan, lalo na sa pamilya. Ito ay nagagamit natin sa pang-araw-araw nating pakikipag-usap sa paraang informal. And lastly, is the intimate. It is reserved for special occasions, usually between only two people and often in private. This register is highly personal and used between close friends, family members, and romantic partners. You may involve slang, inside jokes, and intimate details. Examples are talking to your lover, talking to your twin, and lastly, inside joke between two college friends. Nordke's framework helps us to understand how language varies based on the context and relationship between speakers.
So let us proceed to language registers and its classifications. But before that, let us define first what is language register. When we say language register, it is the appropriate language that we should use depending on the situation and to the people that we are talking to. So first classification of language register is the formal language register. When we say formal language register, it is the style of writing that is appropriate for professional writing. And it is also impersonal. When we say impersonal, it avoids using the words like I, we, you, and us. So, example of formal language register is business letters, letters of complaint, research paper, announcement, professional emails, and reports. So, there are rules that we should follow in formal writing. Number 1 is do not use contractions. When we say contractions, these are the shortcut words or the combination of two words. For example, cannot instead of can't, have not instead of haven't,
would not instead of wouldn't. So in formal writing, we should use the full term instead of the shortcuts because it is formal writing. Next one is spell out numbers less than 100. So in formal writing, if it is less than 100 or it is less than 100, we should spell it out. Let us proceed to the third one. Write in third person point of view. So in formal writing, we typically use the third person point of view. That is why we should avoid using the words like I, we, you, and us. Next is avoid using too much passive verbs. So here's the example in passive. The bone was eaten by the dog. Next is the active. The dog ate the bone. So as you can see here, the active one is more direct and more concise. So in our formal writing, we want it to be more direct and more concise. That is why we should avoid the passive one. Next is avoid using slangs, idioms, exaggeration, hyperboles, and cliches. Of course, it is formal writing. That is why we should avoid these kinds of idioms and slangs like okay boomer, dope or cool, OMG what's the tea, and break a leg. Next is avoid abbreviations and acronyms. Just like what I said earlier, in formal writing, we should always use the full terms because using full terms demonstrates formal and respectful tone. So instead of putting DepEd, we can use or we can put Department of Education. Instead of putting PHP, we can use Philippine pesos. And instead of flu, we can use influenza. Next is do not start sentences with words like and, so, but, and also. So if we were to start a sentence in formal writing, we should avoid these words. And we can use some good transitional words like nevertheless, however, as a result of, additionally, or in addition. Use conjunctions to indicate transitions or imply continuity or cause and effect relationship in the ideas of your sentence. So, we should always use conjunction words to connect ideas smoothly. And these conjunction words are the for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. So, for us to remember the conjunction words, we used a mnemonic sign fanboys. And F stands for, A stands for and, N stands for nor, B stands for but, O stands for or, yet, Y stands for yet, and S stands for so. So, we can use this mnemonic sign, fanboys, in order for us to remember the conjunction words if we are writing a formal letter. Next, always write in complete sentences. Of course, it is formal writing, that is why we should always use the complete sentences. Next, simple sentences rather than compound and complex. Just like what I stated earlier, we should always use the active rather than the passive because we want our formal writing to be more concise, direct, and more simple. So we should always use the simple sentences if we are writing a formal letter or formal speeches. The next classification of language register is informal language register. It is a conversational and appropriate when writing to friends and people you know very well. So when we say informal language register, it is more casual because the people that we are talking to is our friends, family, and our loved ones. So it is more relaxed and more casual. And the examples are personal emails, phone text, friendly letters, journals, most blogs, short notes, and diaries. So, there are no major rules in informal writing, but you can include include things such as slangs and cliches, figurative language, symbols and abbreviations, and many more. So, in formal writing, there are rules that we should follow, but in informal writing, there are no major rules that we should follow because, just like what I said, it is casual and it is more relaxed. So we can add some jokes, some incomplete sentences, some short sentences because it is informal. The last one is the neutral language register. It is not necessarily formal or informal, and it is also used to deliver facts. So when we say neutral language register, it aims for clarity and objectivity. And the examples are reviews, articles, some letters, and technical writing.
So these are our references, and this is the end of our discussion. Thank you for listening and have a great day, everyone.